ego and knowledge are inversely proportional to each other. The more knowledge one has, the smaller the ego becomes. The less knowledge one has, the larger the ego grows. Albert Einstein. This is the essence of the journey of maturation in human thought. It does not judge with a raised voice, nor does it impose dogma. Instead, it quietly reveals a subtle law of spiritual life. The further one travels on the path of understanding, the more one learns to bow in humility. When knowledge is shallow, the ego often swells like a shadow cast by a light held too close. We easily believe we are right, that the world must operate according to our thoughts, and that our limited personal experiences are enough to draw conclusions about everything. But as knowledge expands through reading more, listening more, and encountering different perspectives, the ego begins to shrink. Not because we become weaker, but because we realize the world is far vaster than our individual viewpoint. Understanding is like the ocean. The farther we venture out, the smaller we feel before its endless depth. In that state, people become softer in thought, more humble in speech, and more tolerant in how they view others. The ego does not disappear, but it is placed in its proper position as a foundation for learning, not a wall for defense. True understanding does not make us arrogant. It quietly fills us with gratitude. Gratitude for still being able to learn, to make mistakes, and to expand ourselves. And perhaps the deepest maturity lies not in how much we know, but in our awareness of how much we still do not know. In that moment, the ego shrinks just enough to make room in the soul for wisdom, empathy, and a very human sense of peace. You cannot cross the sea merely by standing and staring at the water. Rabindranath Tagore. Crossing the sea is not only literal, but also a profound metaphor for the journey of pursuing dreams, transforming oneself, and stepping beyond invisible limits in life. Many people spend a great deal of time thinking, analyzing, worrying, and imagining the path ahead. They stand on the safe shore, gazing at the ocean of opportunities with both longing and fear. Fear of failure, of making mistakes, of loss, keeps them hesitating, waiting for a perfect moment, a moment that, in reality, rarely exists. But the ocean does not part for those who merely observe. It yields only to those who dare to step in and accept getting soaked by the waves. Action is the boundary that separates dreams from reality. No one learns to swim just by standing on the shore, reading books, or imagining cool water. Likewise, no one grows, succeeds, or becomes stronger through thought alone. When we dare to move forward, even clumsily and fearfully, we begin to learn how to stay balanced amid life's waves. Every stumble teaches us more about our limits and brings us one step closer to confidence. Action, even when small, is always 1,000 times more powerful than hesitation. Life does not demand absolute certainty from us, only enough courage to begin. For only by stepping forward do we truly discover how far we can go. And only by daring to enter the water do we have a chance to reach the far shore of our dreams. Happiness does not depend on any external conditions. It is governed by our mental attitude. Dale Carnegie. This points to the inner realm where happiness is no longer something sought in the noisy outside world, but something nurtured from a quiet inner self. People often tie happiness to tangible things, success, money, recognition, or favorable circumstances. Yet those things are always changing, coming and going like passing clouds. If we build happiness on such fragile foundations, we will forever live in a state of waiting and fear of loss. Conversely, when we realize that happiness arises from how we perceive life, we gradually regain control over our own emotions. A grateful mindset can turn the ordinary into something precious. A tolerant attitude can soothe wounds once thought impossible to heal. Mental attitude is like the lens through which we view the world. In the same situation, A pessimist sees deadlock, while a calm person sees an opportunity to learn and grow. When the mind is at peace, adversity is no longer an enemy, but a silent teacher. At that point, happiness no longer depends on whether life favors us, but on our ability to choose how we respond to every change. Happiness is not a distant destination, nor a reward for luck. It is a state cultivated day by day through awareness, acceptance, and self-love. When we learn to adjust our inner attitude, no matter how the outside world changes, it cannot take away the peace that has taken deep root in our soul. The winner's advantage does not lie in talent, high IQ, or natural gifts. The winner's advantage lies entirely in attitude. Attitude is the criterion for success. Denis Waitley. This illuminates the journey of rising in life, where the decisive factor is not innate gifts, but how a person faces circumstances, challenges, and themselves. Talent may open the first door, but attitude determines how far we go. Some possess sharp intellect and outstanding gifts, yet easily give up when facing difficulty or become complacent with small successes. Conversely, others start ordinary or even disadvantaged, yet through persistence, a willingness to learn, and constant self-improvement, they gradually surpass their own limits. A positive attitude helps people stand firm in failure, viewing falls as lessons rather than endings. Attitude is also how we choose to respond to circumstances. When facing challenges, those with the right attitude do not complain about fate or blame circumstances. They seek to adapt and improve. They understand that every difficulty hides an opportunity to forge resilience. That spirit creates enduring strength, quiet, but powerful enough to carry a person farther than pure talent ever could. Ultimately, lasting success belongs not to the most gifted, but to the most persistent. A positive attitude is like an inner compass, keeping us from losing direction amid life's upheavals. When we maintain a spirit of progress, humility, and perseverance, we not only reach success, but also touch deep inner maturity. Life is never fair. Get used to that. Bill Gates. This confronts us with a truth everyone has felt, but not everyone is ready to accept. Life was never designed to be perfectly fair, and it is precisely that unfairness that forms the rich variety of human destinies. Some are born into abundance. Others begin in scarcity. Some walk smooth paths. Others carry heavy burdens from the start. These differences often lead to comparison, self-pity, or resentment toward life. But the more we resist reality, the more we exhaust ourselves. Life does not operate according to personal feelings, nor does it adjust to satisfy every individual fate. When we accept that life is inherently unfair, we do not become passive, we become clearer-headed. That acceptance helps us stop complaining and focus on what we can control: effort, attitude, and how we face our circumstances. Instead of asking, "Why me?" we learn to ask, "What can I do with what I have?" That shift in perspective opens the path to maturity. Life does not promise fairness, but it always offers each person a chance to become stronger, wiser, and more self-aware. When we stop demanding that life be fair, we begin to live with resilience amid its imperfections. And sometimes, it is from initial disadvantages that people discover their greatest inner strength. Don't live the same year 75 times and call it a life. Robin Sharma. Far too many people pass through life in a familiar loop. Wake up, go to work, feel tired, complain, sleep, then repeat the exact same day. Time passes not through experiences, but through habits. Years pile up, yet the soul remains stuck in the same old place. Age increases, but the depth of life does not. We think we are living a full life, but in truth, we are merely copying the same year over and over. True living is not about existing long enough. It is about what we learn, how we change, and how we mature through each stage. A year worth living includes new experiences, mistakes to correct, limits to break, and fears to face. If each year passes, and our thoughts, perspectives, and emotions remain unchanged, then even at 75, we have only lived one single year, repeated 75 times. Do not let life slip by unconsciously. Dare to step out of your comfort zone. Dare to learn something new. Dare to change your viewpoint. Dare to slow down and understand yourself better. For life is not measured by the number of years we exist, but by the depth of the moments we truly live. And when each year carries its own meaning, when each day leaves a mark of growth, only then can we call it a life in the truest sense. Be kind to everyone when you are successful, because you will be just like them when you fall. Jimmy Durante. This speaks to the fragile nature of human status in the flow of life. Wealth, success, or position are not permanent shields protecting anyone from life's harsh changes. Today, you may stand at the top. Tomorrow, you could be in a very different place. And what remains for others to remember about you is how you treated them when you were on high. At the peak, people easily forget what it feels like to be vulnerable and confuse their worth with what they possess. Power and money can widen the distance between people, replacing empathy with arrogance. But life turns unpredictably. When circumstances shift and the spotlight fades, we deeply realize that what keeps a person standing is not status, but character, and how we treated others when we were above them. Kindness is not an act for show. It is a form of profound wisdom. Those who understand life choose to treat others well, not out of fear of loss, but because they know every social position is temporary. Today, we may give. Tomorrow, we may be the ones needing understanding. In that moment, what warms us is not memories of winning or losing, but the genuine relationships we once nurtured. Live humbly in times of plenty, and be compassionate even when no one requires it of you, because in the end, what lasts longest through every rise and fall is not wealth, but the imprint of kindness we leave in others' hearts. Love and compassion are necessities, not luxuries. Without them, humanity cannot survive. Dalai Lama. This reveals the essence of being human and the true meaning of existence. In a modern world full of pressure, where human value is often measured by achievement, speed, and productivity, this reminder is a gentle pause to look back at the most fundamental nourishment of our existence. We can survive on food, water, and air, but to live meaningfully with depth and endurance, love and compassion are indispensable nutrients. They nourish the spirit the way sunlight nourishes a plant. When loved, we feel we belong in this world. When we love and empathize with others, we find meaning in our own presence. Without love, life becomes barren and cold. Without compassion, we easily fall into isolation, even surrounded by people. Modern society sometimes misleads us into thinking compassion is a sign of weakness and that only the strong, rational, and competitive survive. Yet, reality shows the opposite. Understanding and love are what help us stand firm against hurt, loss, and life's harshness. Compassion does not weaken us. It makes us more human, helping us connect rather than confront, heal rather than harm. When love and empathy are present, life becomes more meaningful. No matter how difficult the circumstances, they are not luxuries reserved for times of abundance, but the foundation for living fully. Because ultimately, we do not live merely to exist. We live to be loved, to be understood, and to give those very things to the world around us. When you judge others, you do not define them. You define yourself. Dyer. This urges us to look not at others, but at ourselves. For every judgment spoken, not only reflects the person judged, but also mirrors how we see life, how we see people, and how we confront our own inner limits. People tend to judge others based on what they know, believe, and have experienced, but that does not mean they grasp the full truth. When we label someone weak, wrong, or incompetent, we may unconsciously reveal our own fears, prejudices, or unhealed wounds. Only when we feel insecure do we need to diminish others to feel more secure. Thus, judgment says less about the person judged and far more about the inner world of the one judging. A peaceful soul is slow to conclude. An experienced person knows that everyone carries invisible stories on their shoulders. When we have enough empathy, we realize no one is defined solely by one action, one mistake, or one flawed moment. Recognizing this is not about staying silent in the face of wrong, but about learning to view life with greater humility and awareness. Instead of rushing to judge, we can choose to observe, listen, and understand. And in that process, we gradually realize every time we refrain from judging others, we are also healing ourselves. 4 things for success: work and pray, think and believe. Norman Vincent Peale. Success does not come from a single factor, but from the harmonious blending of outer effort and inner strength. Work is concrete action, the relentless commitment to reality. No achievement appears without sweat, discipline, and responsibility. But work alone is not enough. We also need prayer, not necessarily religious, but a connection to the deeper soul and to values greater than ourselves. It is the moment we pause, humbly acknowledge our limits, and seek peace amid things we cannot control. Alongside action comes thought. Thought gives direction, ensuring every step has purpose and meaning. Acting without thinking leads to blindness. Thinking without acting leaves ideas hanging in the air. And for thought to become power, we need belief. Belief in the path chosen, in the value of effort, and that regardless of outcome, we are still moving forward. These 4 elements, work, prayer, thought, and belief, are like 4 pillars supporting the journey to success. When they are balanced and in harmony, we not only reach external goals, but also find inner steadiness. Success, then, is no longer just a destination. It becomes a complete journey where we give our all while living at peace with ourselves.